Yo, schoolers, let's talk about the About page framework because it is designed to attract only the right members while also repelling the wrong ones. So let's get into the Doorman Principle because your About page is not a welcome mat to just say hey to everybody who wants in, right? It is a full time salesperson and your doorman. So we're looking to create a formulaic filter system to attract the right members and repel the wrong ones. So those who end up in your community feel a sense of similarity and connection and belonging from day one, because that's what it's going to take to actually get them to engage and pay and stay and get results, right? So humans are wired for tribal belonging. So our About page should make the right members feel like this is where I belong. And so we want to leverage tribal psychology to get there. So here's our cult creator model, and these are 8 filters that make the right members want to join, engage, and pay to belong while repelling the outsiders line by line. So filter number 1 is who are we together? So the first line of our About page should work to repel the wrong members immediately. So we want to attract people with a similar personality. So we filter out the coaches who are offended by words like cult or fuck so that we can be permissionlessly ourselves, right? And so what this looks like for our About page is we put 18 plus for adult language and phallic frameworks because we don't want anybody who's offended by those things. In fact, we want people who appreciate those things. Those are our people, right? We're looking to find our people, and this is more of a personality filter at this point. So filter number 2 is who is this community for? So for the right members who pass the first line, the fuck off filter that we call it, then we filter who our community is for. So how we do it is if you're an expert with something to say and the balls to lead. So we're validating that they're coaches and experts and they have something to say, like a methodology that can change lives, but also the balls to lead because they're not just selling courses, they're not just selling PDFs. These are community builders who actually have the balls to lead their tribe, right? And so it doesn't look like it says a lot, but it actually is like a 3-part filtration system just in that one line. And so filter number 3, where are we going together? Then those who pass the personality test, right? They feel like one of us and they align with the tribal identity of the collective. So they are one of us. Then we filter by those who want the same result, right? Because even if we are similar, if you don't want the result I can promise, then it doesn't make sense for you to be here. So what that looks like for us is we believe communities are the hottest business model to get paid every day, changing lives at scale, doing what you love with the people you like. So that's our North Star, right? We're talking about community as the business model. So these are coaches with a community, and specifically so that we can get paid every day and change lives at scale and do what we love with the people we like, because our core value is freedom, but it's also fulfillment and fun, right? So we want to get paid every day, for the freedom to get paid every day, but also with the fulfillment of changing lives at scale and the fun of running a business with people we like and doing what we love. So again, it doesn't look like a lot, but it's technically a 3-part filtration system based on values. So far we have a personality filter, an identity filter, and a values filter based on what we're trying to achieve together. Filter number 4, how do we get there? So those who pass the personality test, align with our tribal identity of the collective, and want the same result, now they need to know how we achieve this result, because there's so many coaches and solutions and products and stuff, whatever out there. A lot of ways to solve any one problem. So people want to know what makes you different from everyone else. So for us, we say, but if you want monthly recurring revenue and results, right? We're not looking for just money. We're looking to actually change lives because we believe that monthly recurring revenue comes from monthly recurring results. So belief statement. Belief is another way to help people feel like they're one of us. So if you want monthly recurring revenue and results, you don't just need members to join. You need members to want to belong, right? And so this is our plan. This is a unique plan, different than every other coach out there, every other schooler talking about growing your community. Most people who teach community growth are talking funnels, ads, copywriting, offer creation, all that. We teach belonging as a unique plan and mechanism, because all of those people who teach ads, funnels, whatever, sure, they can get new members, but new members might join, but that doesn't mean they're going to pay, and that doesn't mean they're going to stay, and that doesn't mean they're going to engage. That just gets them through the front door. Our mechanism and our philosophy is that if you want to grow your MRR, you need to make them want to belong and pay to be there. And so that's why belonging is at the core of everything we do. So this filter system, how do we get there, is the plan that makes us different from everyone else. Filter number 5. Once we got this far, we need proof in you as the leader. So those who pass the personality test, they align with the tribal identity of the collective, they want the same result, they believe in your plan to achieve this result. Now they need to believe in you as the leader to get them there. So for us, we say that's why we spent the last 7+ years frameworking cults, cult brands, and buyer psychology to understand how to build something people want to belong to. So now they can see, oh, who are these guys? They spent 7 years looking into the things that I've never looked into. So they must understand how to create belonging, because that's what cults and cult brands and buyer psychology is known for. So that's how we establish our credibility. That's part 1 of establishing credibility as a leader. Step 2, with the second part of proof, which is really filter number 6, proof in themselves. So they pass the personality test, they align with the tribal identity of the collective, they want the same result, they believe in your plan to achieve the result, they believe in you as their leader. Now we need to get them to believe in themselves to achieve this result. Because someone, no matter how bad they want the thing, if you're promising someone $1 million business and they have a $0 business, the belief gap is going to be too big, right? So we need to show people just like them who are achieving similar results so they can see themselves in their shoes and believe in themselves to achieve that too. So that's where we use these 3 case study testimonials, and they all speak to coaches with a community, but at different levels of the game, right? So we helped Funk go from $0 to 1.2 million in 18 months. So that's a really big gap for someone to believe in, but it's true. But then Jared, he had a marketing problem. And so we helped him relaunch with an identity-based, mission-based offer. And so then he got 80 new paying members on relaunch. So we're not promising $1 million business like Funk. He just got 80 new paying members. That's doable, that's achievable, and that's profitable. And then number 3, Steve, he went from 0. He's just a gym trainer. I guess not 0, but he had no online income. And so now he's an online coach making $12,000 per month. So that shows a beginner creating $12,000, someone who's like in the middle who got 80 new paying members once they got stuck on marketing, and someone who scaled to $1.2 million in 18 months as like best case scenario. So this helps people see themselves in our testimonials to believe that they can achieve this too if they build a community around belonging. Filter number 7, mission-based offer. So those who pass the personality test, they align with the tribal identity of the collective. They want the same result. They believe in your plan to achieve the result. They believe in you as the leader, and they believe in themselves to achieve this result. Now they need to know what they get by joining your community. So this is where most schoolers have a membership-based offer, in which you see their about page is just a grocery list of things that you can get access to inside the community. But people don't want access to stuff. They don't want more content. They don't want more homework. They want transformation and they want belonging. So we need to package up everything we do, right? All the components into a mission that they can follow along and expect a result, right? We need to hold their hand and drag them from where they are to where they want to be, rather than having a content library of stuff and saying like, here you go, figure it out. So that's where we say join cult creators for, you get the customer cult black book. And so that's a playbook for creating a customer cult. You get weekly cult psychology secrets and cult brand breakdowns. So these are secrets to grow your community, except they're scattered, right? They're all individually unique and successful at making you more attractive to your members, but they don't fit into any framework, right? They're just loose, random secrets. So great for content, but not great for building a customer cult, which is why those are free. So if you actually want the framework for building a customer cult, that's the paid cult creator model. And so rather than secrets to grow your community, then it's a proven structure and framework to create a community that people want to belong to, right? That's what we call a customer cult. So it shows the difference between the free and the paid, which our pictures above also help reinforce this mission-based offer. And so filter number 8, the last one, contrast the old way versus the new way. So we close the about page with a contrast statement between the common way of doing things and our way of doing things, because we want them to feel uncomfortable and dissatisfied with the status quo. So they feel a pressure to try something new and familiar. So the thing about the brain is that it hates uncertainty. So people would rather stick with something they're currently doing, even if it's not working, because it's the devil they know, right? They would rather familiar certainty than unfamiliar. They would rather know what they're doing than try something new, even if what they're doing isn't working. So in order to create that pressure to get them to move into something unfamiliar, because the brain hates uncertainty, but we need them to try our way, which is going to be uncertain until they join. So that's where we want to show how the status quo and what they're currently doing isn't working, so we can make them feel uncomfortable staying where they are, making them want to try something new, right? So we simply just call that a common community. So in community building in Skool, then common community advice creates common communities. But common communities struggle to get new members, struggle to get engagement, struggle to get retention and grow MRR. Most communities are struggling. And so a common community is the status quo, and it isn't what they want. So we contrast the common community with a customer cult. So a customer cult is something that people want to pay to belong to. So that's just a short way that we have a contrasted plan between what they're doing and what they could be doing. And then we sign off with who we are. And so again, the 6 pictures at the top also reinforce these major filters to make sure that they're getting bought into our way of doing things. But you can see how each line is a certain filter system to attract the right ones and repel the wrong ones, because you can't build a strong community with the wrong members. So don't build a community for everyone, right? We don't want a community full of strangers who just lurk and leave when they think they got what they want. We want to build a community for the right people so they don't just join and engage for the content. I thought I wrote that wrong. We don't want them joining just for content, right? Because that's transactional, it's superficial, it's short term, and they're going to lurk and leave when they think they got what they want. If you build for content, which most people do, most common communities are built around content. So we want them to pay and stay for the collective, because we know people are wired for tribal belonging. So if you can build a community based on belonging, and they start adopting and embodying the collective identity, then canceling doesn't just mean they lose access to content, it means they lose a piece of themselves, right? So that's why we build for collective, not content. Because it's not about getting more new members. Again, we were talking about all the people who are talking about Facebook ads, funnels, member attraction. They're all about new members. Everybody's obsessed with new members, right? Conversion rate on the about page, member count on the about page. They want that number to look good and be big because they think that's what's going to create more MRR. But you can't grow your MRR by getting more new members. Again, because it doesn't mean that they're going to pay. It just means that they joined. You grow your MRR by getting more per member. So this is how we went from $0 in Q2 and Q3 of last year to, once we created our own mission-based offer and built our community for belonging, then we made $30,000 in Q4 off only 4 members, because it's all about earning more per member than generating a bunch of new members. And this is why it's important to have this filtering system, so that you're attracting the right type of people who are going to engage and pay to belong, right? So when our first case study around this was when Funk Roberts came to us. So he had a growing fitness membership. He had new members coming in every day. He had a big audience. He was a really good coach, but he also had tons of cancellations, chargebacks, and dispute letters. This is him holding a dispute letter from his merchant account, basically meaning members don't want to pay to be here. So they're trying to get their money back. So he had to shut down Over 40 Shred and refunded everyone because he was worried his merchant account was going to shut him down, and he needed a way to make money. So he couldn't afford to lose his merchant account. So he just shut everything down, and we rebuilt for belonging, right? So we turned Over 40 Shred, which we're like, I don't think these men over 40 actually want to get shredded. So he created Over 40 Alpha, right? An identity-based brand, because identity creates beliefs, behaviors, and it gets them to take the actions that gets them the result they signed up for, right? Everything is about the identity. So we rebuilt it around Over 40 Alpha. And soon he had over 3,000 members in the community embodying the Over 40 Alpha identity and the Get It Done lifestyle, conforming to group behavior, transformations coming in like crazy. They're buying lifetime access. They're bragging about being a lifer. They're buying anything Funk wanted to create, from coffee to weights to yoga mats to supplements. So they're buying everything. And we scaled to $1.2 million in 18 months and got our 2 Comma Club award. So that was very exciting for us. And so when they feel like they belong, they engage, they take action, they generate tons of monthly recurring results that creates monthly recurring revenue, right? So Anytime Funk's got somebody who's on the fence about joining, he just sends them to his wall of fame, his proof page, and they scroll, and see all the people just like them who have achieved results that they want. And when they see this flood of transformations, they're bought in, right? Because they believe in themselves now. And so we create a 7-figure brotherhood with lifers. These are a bunch of people bragging about becoming an over 40A lifer. We had a bunch of members meeting up offline, and one member even got the tattoo across his entire forearm, going from brand new to branded in 112 days of joining the program. So that was pretty special stuff. So if you want to steal our Cult Creator About page framework to build for tribal belonging, then comment about and we'll send it to you for free. Or if you want to get paid every day to do what you love with the people you like, then become a cult creator, become one of us, and we'll send you the Customer Cult Black Book when you join. So that's the 27-step psychological cult secrets that we directly applied to Funk Roberts membership to turn it from $0 into $1.2 million in 18 months. So there's 11 secrets on attracting the right member, 6 secrets on engaging them, and 10 secrets on retaining them and creating that belonging inside the community, right? So skool.com/cult creators, and you can become one of us. All right, let's get it.